Dear students, welcome back to the e-learning platform of KTHM College, and we are discussing the essay called A Retrieved Reformation, written by O. Henry. In the previous video, we have covered the topics like about the author, then about the story, and then characters. And now we have topics like themes, motif, symbol, etc. to be discussed. Then let's discuss the undiscussed topics one by one. First of all, we have theme to talk on is redemption. Redemption. By depicting Jimmy giving up his life of crime, the story asserts that it is impossible for criminals to redeem themselves and become honest and well-maintained members of society. Jimmy, however, follows an unconventional path toward redemption. Upon release from prison, he immediately returns to his lifestyle as a duplicitous safecracker who travels from town to town, assuming new identities and abusing people's trust. While prison fails to give him any reason to reform himself, Jimmy is willing to give up his criminal identity when he meets Annabelle's eye for the first time. To redeem himself from a life of crime, Jimmy invents a new identity as an honest shoemaker. In doing so, he creates an umbrella of dishonesty under which he can behave honestly. While Jimmy's redemption is for the most part only known to himself, the story concludes with Jimmy's having gained credibility as an honest man in Ben Price's eyes, and Jimmy's redemption is confirmed. The next theme is identity. The theme of identity tries to focus on the following issues. The flexibility of Jimmy's identity exhibits the story's thematic preoccupations with not only what identity is but what it can be. To different people, Jimmy is known variously as Jimmy Valentine, prisoner number 9762, Mr. James Valentine, and Ralph D. Spencer. He lives with two identities. His lack of attachment to a consistent identity exposes how human society relies on the trust that accumulates around an identity, a trust that Jimmy expertly exploits. Even when he decides to become a better man and give up his life as a criminal, Jimmy puts his identity in habitation skills to use. Paradoxically, he employs dishonesty to invent an identity as an honest man. Only through dishonestly playing the role of a Ralph Spencer can Jimmy fulfill the warden's request that Jimmy becomes a reformed man. The next theme is freedom. The theme of freedom is introduced in the story's opening paragraph when Jimmy receives a pardon letter. It is an ironic freedom because while Jimmy has been freed from prison, the prison does not give Jimmy any help to free himself from his identity as a criminal. Besides $5 and a lecture. Unable to avoid his compulsion to open safes, Jimmy is a police target soon after his release. It seems the cycle of capture and release will continue. Even when Jimmy finds a reason to reform and gives up his life of crime, his post-release safe robberies put his freedom at risk. His freedom as an honest man is also constrained by the false identity he must uphold. At the end of the story, Ben Price grants Jimmy his freedom by pretending not to know who Jimmy Valentine is. And the last theme of the chapter is determination. The theme of determination is conveyed in the parallel ways in which Jimmy and Ben advance through the story. After Jimmy's release from prison, he is driven to resume the criminal safecracking activities that had landed him there in the first place. He works methodically and cleverly using tools he has carefully designed. He seems to have no ambition other than to open safes until he meets Annabelle, at which point he becomes determined to gain her love and trust. The determination Jimmy has in his criminal life transfers to his new identity as an honest man. He is determined to be successful and well liked. Meanwhile, Ben Price is determined to slowly but thoroughly collect evidence that will allow him to arrest Jimmy and put him away from a long sentence. Their competing determinations: for Jimmy to remain free, for Ben to put Jimmy away, culminate at the bank door. However, an ironic reversal occurs when Jimmy gives up on his determination and capitulates to Ben. Ben capitulates to Jimmy. After themes, then we have elements like motif and symbol. Of them, the first one is motif. Let's see what is meant by motif in short. Motif is a conspicuous element such as a type of event, device, a reference or formula occurs frequently in the works of literature, and the same motif also has been used in the story A Retrieved Reformation. The motif is Jimmy's appearance. A Retrieved Reformation cites Jimmy's youthful and pleasing appearance several times, as it is what allows him to gain strangers' trust, which he can then exploit. Since Jimmy does not exhibit visible signs of criminality or ill intent, the chief prison officer believes that Jimmy has a good heart. Jimmy's look comes up again when he changes into decent clothes and McDonald's. In Elmore, Jimmy's youthful looks make Annabelle blush, and his fine and respectable appearance garners the hotel clerk's confidence. Later, the employees at the Elmore Bank are pleased to see that Annabelle has such a nice-looking fiancé. Ultimately, his appearance operates on two levels. While his looks do allow him to disguise his duplicity, his pleasant demeanor also betrays his true good nature. After motif, we have symbols. There are some symbols in the present chapter also. Before talking about the symbol, we need to see what is meant by symbol, I mean the definition of symbol. Symbol in the broader sense is a symbol is anything which signifies something else. In this sense, words also are symbols. Symbols are sometimes object, character, figures or colors used to represent abstract ideas or concepts. Likewise, we also have symbols in the story like Jimmy's safe-cracking tools. Just as shoes symbolize honest work and an honest life, Jimmy's safe-cracking tools are a symbol of his identity as a criminal. Jimmy designed the tools to his own exacting specifications, and Ben Price understands him to be the only man capable of using such tools properly. When Jimmy decides to put an end to his identity as a safecracker, he bequeaths the tools to a friend. In the end, Jimmy commits a selfless act by freeing Agatha from the vault. The tools are tied to his identity. As soon as he starts using them, Ralph Spencer dies and Jimmy re-inhabits. It means bonds his old identities. Then second symbol is Annabelle's rose. Before Jimmy reveals himself by freeing Agatha from the vault, Jimmy asks Annabelle for the rose she has pinned to her outfit. He understands that he is likely going to lose her love. In anticipation, he asks for the flower as a symbol for her and the love they've shared. He pockets the rose in his vest, where it is safe, and after opening the vault, he walks to the door. Since it is clear by the end of the story that Jimmy knew Ben was closing in, the reader can infer that Jimmy intended to bring the flower with him to prison in order to have something by which he could remember Annabelle. Dear students, as we are in the final phase of the essay, we have some literary elements to bring into light. So, let's talk one by one. First one is a metaphor. Metaphor of throwing out of its crater an eruption of banknotes. To emphasize the amount of money that Jimmy frees from a safe in Jefferson City, O. Henry writes that the old safe became active and threw out of its crater an eruption of banknotes amounting to $5,000. In this metaphor, the author is comparing the high volume of cash leaving the safe to lava gushing from a volcano that had long sat dormant. After the metaphor, we have elements like simile. Simile of opening like a cheese. It means opening a safe like a cheese. To describe how Jimmy opens a would-be highly secure safe in Logansport's, O. Henry uses a simile, saying the safe is opened like a cheese. The reader infers that Jimmy has no trouble opening the safe, and that it opens as smoothly as a knife splits open a wheel of cheese. Then the second simile is jerking out as easy as pulling up a radish in a wet weather. Ben Price remarks that Jimmy has the only clamps that could remove a safe's combination knob as easily as a radish is pulled from the wet soil. Then the third element is narrator and point of view. The story is written in a third person omniscient voice. The point of view shifts between Jimmy Valentine and Ben Price. The next element is climax. The story reaches its climax when Jimmy risks revealing his identity as a safe cracker so that he can free Agatha from the bank vault. Then next one is allusions. When he assumes a new identity, Jimmy rises like a phoenix from the ashes of his old identity. This is an allusion to the mythological figure of the phoenix, an immortal bird that would live for many centuries in the Arabian deserts before running itself on a funeral pyre. The phoenix would then rise from the ashes with renewed youth that would allow it to live for another cycle. And the last literary element of the story is paradox. There are two paradoxes in the present story, and these two paradoxes structure the narrative. It is only by assuming a false identity as Ralph Spencer that Jimmy can live an honest life, and it is only by eventually giving up that false front and making himself vulnerable to arrest by Ben Price that he can truly live in freedom. Dear students, these were the themes, literary elements, and motifs and symbols we discussed. Thanks for being with me. Stay home, stay safe, keep keep learning. Thank you. Thank you.